There we go. My mic is live. I think your guys' mics are live. This is Fly in Formation. Welcome aboard, everybody. My name is Dubious. With me today are J.O. and Goudini, two guys who together form a duo called Run&Gun, out of Mississauga, I believe. Am I right in that one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right on. So how's it going tonight, guys?
Good. Can't complain. Yeah. I'm all right.
Hell yeah. So there's been, well, here to start this off, I've done a couple of these interviews with several people on screen like this before, and just the nature of the Zoom call is that sometimes we're going to talk over each other or whatever. If you want to interrupt me, do it. I'll shut up. This is, the place for it. This long form podcast style conversation. So yeah, just feel free to say whatever you like. You don't need to worry about swearing, any of that. That's all good. Thanks. Thanks for joining me, guys. So look, I'll admit I wasn't really up on the entire movement until earlier just this year. I think I stumbled across you two as a group on Sazy's latest project, where you did a feature on his album. And I think from there, I went and followed some links and found Creasy. I definitely played that one recently on my mix show there. But yeah, since then I've been tapping back in just kind of to prepare and learn a little bit more about you. From what I can understand, just based off of your bio and stuff, you guys came together because, and this is what your Spotify bio told me, but because there were challenges and kind of struggles as independent solo acts. So I just wanted to ask, obviously the experience as a duo has been positive so far, but what were some of those challenges that you were kind of facing as solo acts that being a duo has kind of helped overcome?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what I would say, it wasn't so much of specific challenges that we were facing as solo acts that being a duo helped. It's just that as we were able to kind of link up and put our heads together and really think about structure to the release and planning out how we're going to brand it as a release and stuff like that. That stuff, it's kind of easier to come up with that stuff when you're bouncing ideas off of each other. You know what I mean? And it's easier to look from one side and say, okay, I wouldn't necessarily do it that way. And then, G would be like, yo, but if we do this, and, just having another person there that has already been on a journey of their own, kind of just combined things that we both already did and just timed it out differently.
That makes sense.
I would say the same thing. It wasn't necessarily a struggle, but it's just when we decided to combine everything together, it just made it that much more better, when you're combining the two fan bases, you're combining the ideas, it just made everything more grand for me.
And really and truly, to throw onto that, it's because when we first came together and did Contra, we weren't Run&Gun. Our first project, Contra, we were just two solo artists. It was J.O.Mairs, Heavy G, Goudini at the time, just connecting.
Yeah, I did do a name switch, but it's still fresh, but it's still
Sorry
Goudini.
About that, man. Yeah, okay.
But no, it's all good. It's still Goudini. It's just a little bit heavier. So, Heavy G.
Heavy G, gotcha. Yeah. All right, man.
And we all know what the G stands for. It's kind of like an evolution.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And I like it. I rock with it. I told him from before. As soon as he told me he was thinking about it, I was like, yeah, fuck with that. Heavy G's crazy.
Yeah, I think name changes have become more and more commonplace in hip hop throughout the years. It's kind of a lot of people do that, even just as a rebranding tool or whatever. I think it can be a good idea sometimes, right?
And I feel like going to Heavy G, it doesn't even really feel like he's just changing it doesn't feel like you're changing your name. It feels like you're just telling people, yo, call me this now.
Yeah.
Because it's we all know the G is Goudini, but it's just call me this now. It's another phase,
Makes sense.
But I'm sorry.
Apologies. I guess I did a little bit of homework, but not enough for that end there. Yeah.
No, it's too fresh for you to even have done homework. This is
it's fresh.
It's too fresh.
Okay, all
it's
right.
not even common knowledge or anything. So
All right, well then we broke that news right here.
You definitely broke that
first.
one. Like,
Yeah.
you broke
Get that one. But yeah, we weren't an actual official duo when we dropped the first project. So like it was kind of just like, all right, whatever, let's drop it, see what happens. And then because we got such a good response and decided to follow it up, that's when we sat and put our heads together and said, all right, yo, we have to come up with a name as a duo so that when we come out as a duo, as opposed to it just being, here's another collab project from these two artists that have been doing their thing. It's like, here's a brand new artist that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
This rap duo called Run&Gun. This is their first project, their first single, their first everything. So because we were brand new, we got to actually sit and approach it
like brand new artists,
brand new artists from this generation. Because the shit we were doing when we were coming up is completely different from the way you got to drop music now.
Right. So I mean, is it kind of more hands make the work lighter? Like, is that the idea? Like, would it get even easier if there were more people in a group? Like, have you ever thought about continuing to squad up with more and more people? Because I know I always looked at like guys in bands and stuff and was like, well, of course you guys sold the tickets to your show. There's 6 of you each out there in the community selling tickets, right? Like it just makes it easier that way, I think, some of the time.
I'm gonna say no immediately. No.
Good.
No.
Good. All right.
Absolutely not.
We don't want to. Yeah, like I don't want to. You know, I think J.O. feels the same way. Like we don't. It's enough. I've already been before this. I was in a group with a rich kid way back in the days. It was 5 members. That was too many. You know. That was too many. Oh, when you go to the show, you're gonna have to split it 5 ways. It starts to get crazy.
That's true too. Yeah.
Too many people adding in ideas. Too many egos. Like having one other person, that's good enough for me. You know.
That makes a lot of sense.
I feel like, and people will tell you like, and I've seen a lot of duos or people do things together and not really hold it together, but they'll tell you like, the group life and the duo life and that type shit's not easy. The only reason it works out is because me and Gu we're like bros. Like we go way back. We're like family basically, you know? So
So can we take it back a little bit? Like as individual artists, how long have you guys been making music for individually? Because Contra was what, 2018, 2019?
No, that was 2020.
2020? Okay.
Yeah.
And then since then you've had 2 more, right? There's been Super C and Run&Gun season since then, right?
Yeah, and Rise and Fall was another project we did too. So we have 4 projects out, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. So but prior to grouping up, how much work had you guys put in on artistry? Like you mentioned you were in a group with Rich Kid.
Yeah, that was like way back when I was young, you know. So like that was maybe 14, 15 years ago, you know. So I was doing it for a long time, you know. Like I used to even be in a little group with Junior T before that, you know. So I know about the group dynamic, and like we were just both doing it from time. J.O. might have been, he's a little bit younger than me. So he probably started a little bit later, but just relatively, we've been doing it the same amount of time.
So we're both basically, at this point, we're both at least 20 years in the bag of making music.
Nice.
You know, earlier in the game, it wasn't as serious. Obviously, it was more for fun. We would just rap with our homies, whatever the case. But like, we were rapping when we were young teens, just becoming teenagers. Like we were making music.
Yeah.
So we have at least 20 years.
So
in the bag.
In 20 years, like music scene has changed a lot. You already mentioned, you know, the way people have to put out music now, it's a lot different than what it used to be or whatever. I think a lot of the time from the guys I've been talking to, everybody's just wearing like 6 different hats, trying to, you know, be management. They're booking their own shows. They're, you know, running the social media, creating content. Like there's so many different facets to it. Do you guys like consciously split it up between the 2 of you? Like, is it like you make the social media posts and I'll handle booking the tours or whatever? Or like, can you talk about how the collaboration comes together, like on the kind of business side of things? Or for that matter, do you have a manager? I mean,
no, there's no manager. It's just like whatever somebody could do, they could do it. You know, if we're doing a show, and J.O.'s like, yo, bro, we need to call 100, 500 people. I'm gonna call 500 people. If you know, J.O.'s like, yo, we need a bio. He's just gonna write it. Like it's more of a just like, bro, it has to get done.
We just do what our strengths are. Like Goo.
Exactly. I'm not necessarily the clerical guy. J.O. is the clerical guy.
Yeah, this was the heart of the question I wanted to get to. Is one of you guys the business mind and the other one?
I'm gonna write the emails and structure the emails and do the communication between certain people. But like when it's like, all right, yo, we gotta write our personal guest list of 250 people, invite everybody. Google hit up everybody personally, be like, yo, what's going on? Like, yo, you coming to the show? Like doing more of that, like. Or if we're coming up with ideas of how we're gonna put the music out or how we're gonna, run the merch, like we'll just kind of shoot ideas back and forth.
Yeah.
Like who came up with Run&Gun? like
the actual name of it.
Yeah, when we needed a name, when we said, yo, we're gonna be a duo, we got to come up with a duo name so we could come out as brand new artists. We're like, all right, let's think about it. We'll reconvene. And we hung up. He linked me back shortly after and was like, yo, what about Run&Gun?
Yeah, I like it. It's catchy. It's short. It wasn't already taken, which kind of surprised me. But like,
yeah, right.
You didn't need to put a string of numbers after it or whatever. But like, why did you choose Run&Gun? Where'd you pull that one from, G?
So like we're kind of just running with the names because we dropped. I don't know if we dropped or we were dropping, but we had the project Contra out, right?
Contra was out, yeah.
Contra was out, so I was kind of just trying to figure out like how we could stay in that lane of that type of branding because nobody was kind of doing that, So then I was just like, yo, this is like a Run&Gun style of video game, like Then I kind of just threw it out there just to see, and then just like after like maybe like after you like 10 minutes, he called back like, yo, I think that's it, fam. That's it.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense.
Because it was the first shot,
Yeah.
It was like we didn't think of any names, examples of what we wanted to go with. He was just like, yo, what about Run&Gun? And I was like, yeah. And then I was like, all right, let's spell it like this, all capital RUNXGUN.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all right, cool.
Yes, that's what we just started bouncing ideas. Like the X was small at first, and it's like, nah, it can't be small.
All capital.
It's got to be all capitals. It's got to be this. And then that's when the branding came in. Like, like.
I'll get the branding right coming up here. I didn't do it right on the promo there. I don't think I did it in all caps. Maybe that font was all caps, but no, apologies, guys.
It's all good, man.
Yeah, man. So,
but yeah.
You've been just like rapid fire shooting though, like it's been project after project after project in quick succession, right? Which is totally modern style music making. There's not a lot of time for anybody to sit back and wait or everybody forgets about you. But
yeah, for sure.
Have you been doing a lot of tours between? Like when you drop something, is it then time to go out, run around, do a bunch of shows to promote it? Or is it constant shows whenever they come up and drop whenever you can?
Honestly, we haven't. Yeah, we've done some shows. Like we had some shows under the belt, but we never really like toured with Run&Gun yet, Because like when we initially did it, like it was a strange time, Like it was COVID when we dropped Contra. And then going into the Super C era when we were dropping Super C, it was just coming off of COVID. So
still pretty much COVID, yeah.
It was still pretty much COVID, and then things started opening back up. But then, life happens, like G is out there with you in Alberta. I'm out here in Ontario in Saga. So like, it's not as easy to just arrange to drop everything.
But we've still been making it work. We still been, we still had a couple headliners, So like, it's working. It's working for as much as it could, as much as it can.
Yeah, but, no, that's dope. I mean, I think that just even like something like this allows you guys to still act as a group, regardless where you are, regardless where I am, right? Like the internet letting us send files back and forth makes collaborating so easy that, everybody's recording in their bedrooms and shit. So speaking of, I often ask people like about their recording setup, about their recording process or whatever. Can we talk a little bit about that? How you guys have actually put the projects together? So have you been in studio or do you guys home record?
In studio for the most part.
So we've done everything in studio. Everything that we've done in studio.
Nice.
there's been periods of time where like if say I'm here and G is there, if I write something, I might write a verse and a hook, and I'll just make a quick voice note and text it to him. He'll write his verse, or he'll write a verse to a beat and then send it to me in a voice note. I'll write my verse, and then by the time he comes back and we go to the studio, we're knocking out 10, 15 tracks in the
10,
session.
15 songs. Like,
Yeah, that makes sense. So just get everything rough sketched out and then hit the studio, nail it down.
And then we just knock it all out. Yeah.
Makes sense. So I've noticed that you guys have like a real habit of rhyming on beats that have samples that I think like I and everyone else are going to recognize, right? Like samples that have been used in big songs or whatever. Is that a conscious decision, or is that just what catches your ear that you decide to rhyme to?
Conscious decision.
I think it's conscious for sure. Like we sat there one day and we're like, one day I remember we were sitting there, we're in the backyard, and you know we're like, yeah, you know, maybe, you know, we should like not like use too many samples, and then J.O.'s like, you know what, Dad, we're doing whatever we fucking want. We're doing whatever we want. You see this beat and this beat, we're using it, and I'm gonna make it better. And I'm like,
my motto is just like, yo, if I don't take this sample and reflip it,
somebody's gonna do it.
DJ Khaled's gonna do it.
Yeah, and so many big hits have been like kind of sampled from even hits from 15, 20 years ago or whatever, right? Like,
but this is the thing, they're not even going back as far as 15, 20 years. It's shit from like
a lot of the time.
Yeah. Like, see, the thing is, the shit that I'm sampling that I was listening to when I was in high school or whatever, them times back then, this shit's like 20 years old now. So like, it's really open season on those.
Yeah.
Like,
the 20-year-olds now haven't heard it.
It's open season, man. 20 years? Yeah, it's open season, man.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because that means there's a 20-year-old out here that doesn't even fucking know that song to begin with.
Exactly, yeah. It's fresh to
so,
them.
like,
whenever I hear the flips, like whenever J.O. does the flips, I'm sorry, they come out better. Like, I'm sorry. Like, when he flipped Air It Out, I'm like, nah. How did it, like shout out to Dr. Dre, but you didn't do it like this. Like, you just didn't do it like this. You know, when you listen to Two-Face, you just didn't do it like this.
Yeah, no, they sound fresh. I've been enjoying them. I was wondering who was doing the production. I didn't realize that was you. So yeah, props on that.
Majority of it. I try to make it so that, like, with the exception of the Rise and the Fall album, because that one was produced by my homie of ours, Kid Cold. But every other project we put out, I try to make it that there's not more than 2 guest producers on it. So there'll be 2 songs I didn't produce, and then I have to do the rest.
And if they do get on it, like, there have to be somebody who's like Snaz did one. Snaz is like known for doing records for Drake. You know what I'm saying? Like, when somebody is elected to jump on this, they have
gotta be special.
Better have like some kind of name that's gonna be like, okay, yeah, this makes sense.
Rich Kid, Tone Mason,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Tone Mason, like, those guys are like, you know. So you might hear a Pops sooner or later. You're gonna hear those big boys. If it's not a big boy, then, like, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you're doing the production that well yourself, I don't really know how much you need to reach out. I think a lot of people have had a lot of success kind of building their own formula from the ground up, with a specific producer like that or whatever, right?
Sure.
Were you making beats before you were rhyming, or were you rhyming before you made beats?
I would say rhyming before I made beats, but the level of rhyming I was doing before I made beats and while I just started making beats, it was very like entry. We were having fun with it. No one was really taking anything super seriously. Like, we just freestyle on the block, or like if someone has, you know, a little computer mic recording setup, we might make a song, you know, but like nobody was really out trying to make a career of it at that point.
Makes sense.
And then we got a hold of FL Studio. And I just kind of started messing with it, and like I knew music to an extent, so like I kind of had ideas in my head. It was just about learning how to use the program to make it. So I kind of grew as a rapper and a producer, like, simultaneously.
Dope. So do you guys have the same taste in rap? Like, if I were to ask, you know, like a top 5 dead or alive kind of thing, would you be naming some of the same people?
Yeah,
Maybe.
probably.
Yeah, for sure.
Some
Obviously,
of
there's
them.
gonna be one or two that are different, but it's like your top five. Like they're
Yeah.
gonna be interchangeable. There might be one guy or two guys who are out. Like you kind of know your top 22. Like
I think a lot of people's top 5 would change up, from day to day or whatever. That's fair enough. But yeah, no, I was just wondering, like, you guys listened to the same stuff growing up, I would take it.
For sure.
For the most part, with some change outs, like for example, I always tell people like I missed out on the Mobb Deep era, because at the era that like Mobb Deep was hot, like I was still mad young at that point, right? So like I didn't have access to everything, and I was already listening to like DMX and Rough Riders and that type of thing, and then some Busta Rhymes and a little bit of Jay-Z, but like nobody really put me on to Mobb Deep. So like later on in life, when everyone was like, acclaiming for, Mobb Deep is the greatest, I didn't really understand the hype because I just missed it,
Do you get it now? Do you like Mobb Deep now? I find Mobb Deep is polarizing. Guys either say they're the GOATs or guys don't really feel it,
I like them, but I have a very select handful of songs of theirs that I really like. Yeah. And then there's a big bunch of songs I don't give a fuck about. Right.
Yeah. But Mobb Deep that's just one of my favorite guys. They're just he is my favorite rapper of all time, But then like I'm sure then there's just the regulars for me, the Jada Kisses and the fucking Camerons and the those are just my
That's the era you guys, well, I don't want to say sound like, because that makes you sound like your sound is dated, but that's the era that I can tell it's rooted in anyways.
Oh yeah, you can tell that we came from that.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
So I always kind of wonder about guys who rap together. There's few MC duos. A lot of the time they clash heads and go their separate ways or whatever. And you said it yourself, it's like egos come together in groups and sometimes they don't work out or whatever. And I know one thing that I've always wondered about, like the ones who stay around and who are successful is like, can they critique each other's lyrics? Because to me, like as an MC and a lot of MCs I've talked to anyways, they don't want anybody telling them to change up a bar here or there. So I wanted to ask you guys, like, do you ever hear something in each other's verses and go like, you could change that to this, like, are there suggestions there? Or
he hates it, but I do it sometimes. He hates it.
Yeah.
I don't really take to it. I probably won't do it if you tell me, but like I'll come around to it. It takes me a little while to come around to it. If I had to, but if I hear it in my head and it's gotta sound like that, it's just gotta sound like that,
Yeah.
But for the most part, that's like rare. That's rare,
Yeah, it's not something common.
Yeah, it's not like,
yeah, there's one time I was trying to tell him to change something because I didn't understand the bar, and then when I understood the bar, I was like, oh shit, okay, no, leave it.
but you might just need to catch the double entendre or whatever a couple times,
or the reference or whatever it is. Like sometimes it'd be like that.
Yeah, I mean, because like on the one hand, it seems like two heads together might come up with better lyrics, but then it's like, most of the time MCing is such a solo act that like you can't really imagine people doing that often.
We can't share. Sorry.
No, right? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, there you go.
We're basically fist fighting.
Well, and of course there's like the competitive nature of it where like nobody wants to be out rapped on any track they're on, so you're gonna kind of force each other to up the game that way or whatever. But it's an interesting dynamic because it is competitive at the same time as being like a team sport too, if you're rapping together,
1,000%.
Yeah, man. What else did I want to ask you here? I guess what's coming up next? You guys working on music right now?
We're always going to be working on Run&Gun shit. I think there's going to be a couple solo shits coming out right now. Josh just J.O. just
yeah. So let me just take it from there. This John called me Josh on the podcast. sorry, Joshua. I was just thinking of the album name. Yeah. So basically, I did an album with a producer named Josh Grant, And my actual name is Josh as well. Like we're both named Joshua. So we did an album together and it's called Joshua.
Okay.
And he produced the whole thing, which is odd for me because I produced my shit for the most part, but he produced the whole album. We actually just did a listening party for it in Toronto here the other day, Saturday night, and it was super lit. But people are taking well to the album. That's probably going to be a top of the year release, like late January. And then Goo has a solo project as well, and then we have Run&Gun Season 2. That's going to be our next
coming
our
together for after this solo project. So
yeah,
nice.
I got one in the chamber called Upside Down. Got a lot of features on there. A couple guys from Chicago. Got Josh Grant on there too.
Is that the one with K-Riz?
On there, obviously.
I saw you post a story the other day. You were working on something with K-Riz. Is that going to be on the solo project, or where's that going? Is that K-Riz track?
That'll probably be on a later project. I got a couple projects in the chamber right now. Yeah. So, but I just kind of want to focus on the one that's like ready, you know?
Yeah, makes sense.
But that one's definitely gonna come out, you know?
Nice.
Yeah.
How far in advance do you guys normally plan projects? That's kind of a question I just ask everybody because I'm interested to, I don't know, pick up strategies. Basically, I like to know what everybody's doing around the scene.
It varies, to be honest with you. Like, for example, Contra like was in the works for a minute. And then we kind of put it down, and then we kind of came back together and put it together. But then when we went to Super C, like we mapped that out and gave it like a good, like, you know, what was it, Goo? Like maybe 6 months of work on Run&Gun and shit before Super C came out.
Yeah, because that was like very strategically planned.
Yeah.
The releases were planned, the videos were planned, the branding was planned, everything, the coloring, everything was
so that took the most, but then something like Run&Gun season, we turned around and we were just planning to put singles out. And then we put out 2, and before we put out the third one, we're like, fuck it, let's just add a couple more songs to it and just put an EP out. You know, so that release was just like, all right, yeah, let's just throw these songs into the mix with it, put them all out together, and call it a project.
Nice.
That was like a very successful fucking.
And that's a good project.
Very good album right there.
Found some traction for you, yeah. That's dope. Yeah. When you're putting albums together, is it normally like J.O, since you're making beats, do you normally come with a concept for the tracks, or like Heavy G, are you listening to beats on your own and coming up with concepts, I don't know, to different beats that you then put over other stuff, or how's it go, man?
We'll both come up with the concepts for sure. We'll just both like say for instance, like how what he said with the voice notes, you know, he might just be chilling and be like, I just did 2 to this here, yo. And once he does this verse, it's like, or once I do my verses, you already know what the concept is, you know?
Whatever the verse was about. But the thing is, like, that's how we'll come up with the music, and we'll just make a bunch of music. And then when it's time to put a project together, we kind of just look at the music we got and piece together the project with what fits. The only one where we were really like building music for the project was Super C, because it was like, okay, yo, we need an intro. We're like, okay, we got to follow up Contra with the soul sample intro and a recognizable sample. So that's when we're like, all right, we're going to start it off with Nothing Like It, because that Beanie Siegel sample, start the album with that, it's going to be crazy, you know? And then we're thinking about the other songs that we had, like doing the Two-Face record, like, all right, yeah, that's the flip on a week ago. Then we did the Blacklist, which was the flip on the Beanie Siegel joint. And then the ending, the Cam joint, that's not a flip on a specific like Dipset song, because I don't know anyone who sampled that sample, but it just felt like a Dipset, right?
Yeah, Dipset style, yeah.
You know what I mean? So like that was the one project we did where we actually sat and said, all right, let's put it together like this, you know?
Yeah, makes sense. I think it's smart to tap back into that era, man, because like, you know, that was my shit. I think there's a lot of people out there who that was kind of what they came up on, and you know, it really changed up a little bit after that. And now there's more music coming out that's, you know, kind of back in that lane a little bit more so. But, you know, and I like stuff in all lanes too. Like, I don't mean to shit on any type of music, but, you know, I think there are definitely people out there who are still going to be looking for that. But yeah, I'm not surprised that you guys are finding a little bit of traction with the music you're making. The shit is dope.
It's fair.
one thing I like asking everybody, some opinion-based questions. Can I get your guys' opinion on social media? Is social media a pain in the ass or is it a blessing?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
It's definitely both.
It's like you need it, but it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Like especially if you're an artist, you know, if you're just like an everyday person, you might not really necessarily need it. But like if you want to have your stuff out there, you want to be noticed by the world, you probably kind of need it, right? But it gets annoying sometimes, but it could be the reason that you get on, you know? So double-edged sword.
Definitely. How about this one? What's a hobbyist to you guys? I've had the term like hobbyist thrown around in various contexts in these interviews, talking to different artists about how like you know, guys who pay to play. That's one I've heard, that the guys who will pay to open up for other acts, that's a hobbyist thing. Was one quote. And I've also heard somebody say kind of the opposite of that, that like people who won't pay for advertising are hobbyists. You know, like they're just making music to make music. So I don't know. Do you guys, what would you say a hobbyist is compared to like a, I don't know, professional artist, or for that matter, do you consider yourself hobbyists or something else? Would you be insulted if somebody called you a hobbyist?
A little bit. I'd be a little bit insulted.
If this is not me calling anyone hobbyists right now. I'm just asking.
Yeah, no,
trying to get ground on this.
No. I probably would be a little bit offended. I mean, I've made money off of music. I haven't made like, you know, life-changing bread off of music as yet. But like, I feel like to be bold about it, I guess I'm too good at this for it to be a hobby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. I'm too good at it, and I have too much of a genuine love for it to refer to it as a hobby. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like, a good answer. I like that.
It's just like saying if I was good enough to hoop overseas, but I just wasn't really trying to be overseas, but you know, it's tough to get into the NBA or whatever the case. If I'm still getting paid here and there to hoop, like you can't tell me basketball's a hobby, right? Like, yeah. Because if I go to LA Fitness with the guys who it's a hobby for, I'm gonna bust your ass all day.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, is music is something that can pay people's bills. Like, you know, in theory, when you crack that code, eventually it's there. But like a lot of people are working a job and kind of doing music after the shift's done, right? Like, or when they can book time off or whatever. So
which is okay. That's okay.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that at all. It's just
that it's all about cracking that code so that you eventually don't have to go to work, or maybe you could do a part-time, and then the part-time's over because it expands, you know? Because
but what the real thing is, sorry to cut you off, but what the real thing about it is that there's no one code to crack. There's no one level of success. There's no one definition of what making it as an artist is. It's going to be different for anybody.
Definitely.
Right? Like everyone, like my whole thing is like, I think we could be defining the success on our own terms based on where we came from and what we're doing and what we're making of it. Yeah. Right? Like some people might look at an artist that can pull in, you know, say 80 grand a year. That's nothing if you compare yourself to someone who's in the music industry, like the Drake or the certain people that are getting, you know, 100 grand a show or 50 grand a show all the time or whatever the case. But if you're making 80 grand a year and you don't work a regular job, like who's to say that you're not a successful
for that matter, 80K a year would be more than a lot of jobs are making anyways, right? So if you're making 80 grand a year off music, so
even if you turn around and say they're making 50K a year or 40K a year after tax,
still pretty decent.
It's nothing crazy, but you're still making what certain people are making working full time all year.
Yeah.
So like no one can point a finger and say that you're not successful at that point, right?
Yeah. Well,
So,
and even beyond that, like as far as reputation wise and stuff, like I've talked to guys who have been touring Canada for 20 years, you know, a guy like Word Burglar or something like that. He's not making the Drake money, but he's somebody who's like a respected career musician who is going to continue being a career musician. You know, and like shouts to those guys. That to me, I think is a lot of people's dream right there. What would you guys define success as? What are you looking to do here?
I mean, I'm looking to not do anything with my day but music. That's what I'm looking to do. And I feel like if I'm at that point where I can live at the level I'm living right now and go and get further than that, you know what I mean? Expand, maybe get, you know, everyone would want bigger place, better car, whatever the fuck, you know, but to be able to not have to wake up and do anything except music is the ultimate goal. And I feel like once we're at that point, like I'm good regardless of how much bigger it gets from there.
That's definitely the goal, you know. That's definitely the goal, you know. Success for me is just, it could be small to big, you know. So like when we dropped Super C, that was a success to me, you know. When we dropped Contract, that was a success to me. When we opened up for Junior T and we opened, you know, we did our own show and sold it out, like that was success to me. Like everything we do for me is just like a little success. And then it just shows you that like if you keep on putting in work, like it's just gonna work for yourself. Like sometimes I think I'm not putting in work, and then I sit back and like, you know, you look at my story and just like, oh, there's just like mad shit going on. Like there's just, and then you just start stepping up. It's like a stepping stone, you know? So
yeah, man. You scroll back through the feed on whatever social network and see like, oh yeah, shit, I have been doing this for a while at this point.
I have been doing something, and you know, sometimes you think, you know, sometimes you get in the way of yourself and you think like, oh man, like maybe I'm not doing too much. But yo, there's somebody who's looking at you and like, yo, I wish I could be doing what you're doing. So
true.
There's a lot of people who are just like, you know, you might even see them come to a show and they'll be like, yo, man, like, yo, you're doing it so big. And we might be like, damn, like, you know, we're not that.
It's easy to not feel so big when you can look around and see guys like Drake who are like getting so much coverage, you know,
exactly.
Like it's,
But it's just like
it's tough not to compare.
There's levels, you know, and it's just as long as you just continue to keep on stepping up and doing more, the success was gonna come, man.
Yeah, I like that, man. What else should I ask you here? How about should an artist stick to one sound or should they switch it up and try new styles from album to album? That's an opinion question. I feel like you guys are kind of nailed into one sound at this point, at least for the last couple.
Yeah, I feel like we are nailed into one sound because Run and Gun, that's what Run and Gun is here to provide.
Yeah.
You know, Run and Gun is here to fill that void of that early 2000s Rockefeller music, that era of music that we were just talking about. That's the void that we wanted Run and Gun to fill. And like, if you go listen to
we also did, though, even though we are like, we have this niche, I always wanted to make sure that we didn't necessarily fit all the way into a niche, you know, because J.O. has the jingles to add to it. It's like, yeah, we are we are there, but we're always going to be different. At least in my eyes, we're always going to be a little bit different from anybody else who's in that so-called niche, you know?
Yeah.
It's because nobody's been able to recreate that vibe the way I have. I feel that way. When I listen to our music, like production-wise and even just beat selection-wise, I don't feel like anybody has really been able to recreate the vibe of our music the way we created that.
I'm with you on that, man. I don't think I don't think you're wrong on that. I think that's right on point. Like your shit does sound in the same way that I tell a lot of lyricists that they sound like classic boom bap, but still fresh. I think your stuff, is doing that for a production level. Which is kind of rare.
And on the other side of it, like with me personally, like Run and Gun is where I go to. It's like kind of like the gym for me. It's like where I go to let off steam because it's more rap focused. Like the music I was working on before we started the Run&Gun projects and we're doing all that, like there's a lot of melodics in there. There's a lot of singing. I have certain songs that are straight like R&B-ish where I didn't rap a word on it. Like I have so much different range in what I do as a solo artist that like with Run&Gun is where we rap. This is where we come to be who we are. And Goo too, same thing. Like this is where he comes to like we're basically like I said,
that's our core. That's like it's like yeah, it's like
Fight Club.
Yeah, like if I could just want to just make music and I could just make music and just do what I want. I want to do my Run&Gun shit. I just want to. I rather just stay right here in this lane and just eat people up for breakfast. That's what I rather do.
Yeah.
You know, but
Run&Gun is Fight Club.
Yeah, but I also like it's imperative that like we try different things. That's like we're always gonna try different things as we progress. Like Creasy is not something that sounds like, you know what I mean?
No,
that
doesn't sound like conscious.
No, that one sounds on some new shit. Yeah.
Yes. So like we have stuff in the bag that, trust me, it doesn't sound like, you know what I mean? But it still sounds like we're meant to be there, you know?
Okay, so there might be some switch ups coming then in further projects. Yeah, okay. So,
yeah, for sure. Because we have to show you that, you know, we don't have to do the fist fight thing. We can jump on a girl song and destroy that too. We can jump on a super boom bap poetic and destroy that too. And we can jump, you know, we can jump. Don't think that it's just like we're here to just, you know, we're musicians. So.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Keep growing all the time. That's what that's about as a musician, I think.
Sure.
How about this one? I hear different opinions on this. Is hip hop a young man's game? The 20-year-olds like to tell me that it is, and anybody who's 30-something is like, nah, it's ageism's dead in hip hop.
You know what's funny? I was watching a clip the other day, and it was Eric Sermon talking about hip hop and shit. He's like, yo, honestly, man, they just need to. Like, what's going on? They just need to call that shit something else. They just it's not hip hop. We got to find another name for it. And I kind of, on one hand, it's like I hear what he's trying to say, and on the other hand, it's like, yo, but it's got to evolve, you know. But at the same time, it's like there is a certain aspect of hip hop as we see it today that is a young man's game, but that's not it's not the same hip hop that we're talking about. Per se, you know what I mean? Like it is the same because I guess it's supposed to be the evolution of it, but it's not the evolution of it. But like it's like because these guys aren't. This is the thing. Sorry, I'll let you talk just now. But I just want to get this point out.
Look at this guy.
I'll just stay quiet. I'll just sit back over here.
No, these guys right now, like, if we want to be technical about it, 80% of the rappers that are out right now are actually singing.
They're not rapping.
If you put a little melody to your rap and stuff, that's what makes it no longer a rap. Because now if a R&B singer was to take that song that this rapper just sang and they sing it, but they actually have a good singing voice, so it sounds more singy.
Yeah.
That R&B singer is not a rapper now. They're still singing.
Yeah, it's like calling somebody like Chris Brown or something a rapper some of the time. I hear stuff and I'm like, I don't know if that's rap or not. Yeah.
It's like saying J.O.Mairs is a rapper. J.O.Mairs is not a rapper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the rappers are making the same music as him. Their voices just don't sound like his. So it's like
40% of that 80 is like, a lot of the time when I hear these young guys, I hear Green Day. I'm like, you're singing like a rock, like, you know, Lil Uzi.
Dude, I joke about that all the time, man. Yeah, Lil Uzi Vert. Yeah, a lot of these.
I like it.
It's in the independent scene too, man. I listen to like 6 hours worth of new independent music every week, and there are little like emo rap punk crossover kids that like 15 years ago it would have been a punk band, and now it's like they get a drum kit, they get a drum machine, and they just kind of auto-tune themselves singing emo punk. Yeah.
Like Lucid Dreams, Juice World. Like cool. You want to call him a rapper, but brother, he's really a rock artist. If you like,
and I mean that's whatever. Like that's art too. Like, all the power to them making that. Like do it.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's just that,
yeah.
My only thing is you can't now like the youth now. Say for example, if they're gonna try to make a comparison of today's rap and back then rap or whatever the case, you can't compare these rappers to guys like Prodigy or Jadakiss or Nas or
not many.
The comparison doesn't make make any sense.
No,
because it's like they don't do the same thing in the slightest. You could easily compare someone like, if you want to say for example, you take like say Freddie Gibbs, or not even, I won't even say Freddie Gibbs. Let's say somebody like just somebody who raps who's newer. Say like Vince Staples, for example. Maybe
sure. All
Vince
right,
Staples raps. You can compare Vince Staples to someone like Big Daddy Kane and talk about the difference in their rhyme styles and their rhyme schemes and rhyme patterns and deliveries and cadence and whatever. But you can't compare Young Thug to Big Daddy Kane. You know what I mean? You can't compare Gunna to Big Daddy Kane. You can't compare Lil Baby to... You can if you really want to just break down the rhyme pattern and rhyme pattern, but they're still singing.
Yeah,
they're melodic. So
when I mean, a lot of the time the rhyme patterns aren't what a cool G-rap rhyme pattern was. You know, like it's
cool
right. Like
it's always going to come back down to, are you singing or are you rapping? Like if you're singing, like you're singing. You know?
Yeah, but
you write differently. The writing process and coming up with the song and coming up with the record is a completely different process if you're thinking about it with a melody and that type of thing in mind. Like if you're thinking about melody and the delivery of
and kind of changing up melody every 8 bars, a lot of that, kind of
certain things, like, because I'm not knocking it because I write this shit myself. I do this shit too.
Yeah.
I have a lot of songs that are on that melodic vibe where it's real singy and whatever, but like the word selection, the things I'm going to choose to say are going to be based on how it works phonetically with the melody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I gravitate towards, man. I play trap music on ATSIC, I'll do an hour-long trap mix every couple weeks, like when I get enough of that I like. Yeah. But I'm picking the guys who are doing what you just finished saying. The guys who are still rooted in hip-hop lyricism.
And the musicianship of it at the end of the day, you know? But like then when you turn around and say, okay, yo, Goo, we're making a Run&Gun record, I'm not thinking about the phonetics of this and that and how the words are gonna flow into each other as much. I'm thinking more about, okay, what am I gonna say that's gonna be crazy? Yeah. And how can I say it so it sounds as crazy as possible? You know, that's what rap is.
Get the quotable in there, yeah.
Yeah, get the message across. Even if it's not a quotable or a punchline or whatever, rapping to me is about getting the message across, not about creating the vibe or, you know, getting a catchy melody that people are going to love your song. It's about getting a message across with what you wrote in your verse.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's the difference between them for me.
Yeah, I like that. So what do we got here? 10, 15 more minutes. You guys good to stick around and do one segment here?
We're chilling.
Yeah, all right. So I like asking people kind of rapid fire questions about like, how important is this? How important is that? So you can answer these from the perspective of yourself if you want, to you personally, how important is this thing, or just to MCs in general, like to hip hop in general, whatever. But how important is a good stage show?
Very, 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 very important.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, that's pretty much common consensus. We don't really need to explain that one. Everybody's already went over that one. Getting people out to the shows is so important to make any money as a musician that, you gotta hook them in.
And stop fucking rapping over your songs. Get instrumentals. That's my message to the rappers.
Yeah. How important is having a hype man on stage? And this is interesting, asking two MCs who would presumably perform on stage together. Because a lot of guys are like, nah, I don't like having anybody else on stage with me, that I've asked this question to.
It's not important.
Hype mans are cool, but for me as a rapper, I feel like I feel like it's like a challenge to me to not have the hype man, because the hype man kind of saves you. You know, what if you didn't have a hype man? Like,
Right.
you know, what if 50 Cent didn't have Tony Yayo? Probably
Honestly,
die on the stage. You know what I'm saying?
I'm used to performing by myself.
Yeah.
You know, I'm used to being the person on the stage without having a hype man. I don't mind having a hype man, but when it's a hype man, like if I ever had a hype man, it was my DJ Goods. He's just, you know, he's on the decks controlling the music, but he might have a mic and he might shout out a couple words in the hook.
That was the next thing I was going to ask, was how important is having a DJ for a stage show?
A DJ is definitely important.
Very important.
No matter whether it's Run&Gun or solo, a DJ is important. The hype man I could do without, but I do enjoy performing as Run&Gun because it's not a hype man. Goo's not my hype man.
I was going to say, yeah, I feel like two MCs on stage, you got a hype man, but he's not really like the hype man.
We're hyping each other. So because we're hyping each other and backing each other, like, that's one of the more exhilarating ways to perform, you know?
That might be ideal, actually, to have somebody to hype you who also does verses and then you hype them, you know? Like
it is ideal. Yeah. I like performing by myself too, but it's ideal. I like performing as Run&Gun for sure.
Yeah. This is interesting, asking Canadians this one. Everybody I talk to is from Canada. So how important is getting grants for a musician?
Important. If you can get them, get them.
Yeah, I mean, it's important. It's important if you need the bread and if you are able to get them. I'm not gonna say it's important to get grants because not everybody gets grants.
Yeah,
some people's path is different. Some people's ideals, how they want to do things is different.
Yeah,
you know, but it's definitely a plus if you can get them. You know, I haven't really gotten. I mean, I've gotten. No, not really. No, I haven't gotten a grant at this point. It would definitely help though. So
yeah, makes sense. I mean, less time spent at work, more time making music if you got grants or whatever, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So it is important if you can get them and you can actually have grants funding your life so that you don't have to work or spend less time working.
Yeah.
Then yeah, that would definitely be an important part.
What about you, G? You ever been around people who get grants, or like, have you ever got grants yourself or anything? Is it part of the music scene to you that's important?
I haven't gotten any. I've gotten close to getting one, but like I said, like I'm not against them. I used to kind of be against them because I didn't get them.
Yeah, so, like, it's easy to sit back and hate when you're not getting them, for sure. Yeah.
But like, if you can get them, if you get a nice grant writer, or you could do it yourself, you should use it. That's free money, and like use it.
Yeah, yeah. Canada wants to give money out to people. I think we should let them do it. Apparently, we're the country with the most money given from the government to its artists in the world. So,
sure. Tap
into that shit if you can. How important is opening for big name rappers when they come through town?
I think it's
very important. Important.
I think that's important. I think being able to do that in your city it's one of the things, because like especially with Toronto, where it's one of those cities where they got to see other people love you before they love you. So if a big artist comes down and you open for them and there's a lot of people at that show, if you can actually go there and kill the shit, then it's going to make the city love you more, you know? It'll kind of help your local brand immensely. So I think it's important to be able to open for, you know, big acts when they come.
How many more questions we got? Because I gotta get back into what's it called?
Okay, can I wrap up in 5 minutes? You good with 5 more minutes here? We'll get out of this. I just want to ask you guys some stuff, like it's the closing questions. Describe your local scene. Can you describe the Mississauga hip hop scene?
The Mississauga hip hop scene's a little bit. It's probably not as good, as fruitful as the Toronto scene, but it's getting there.
I mean, I feel like Mississauga just has its artists that are dope. There's not really a scene itself in Mississauga. Like, there's no venue in Mississauga that you're really going to go to and see hip hop or hear hip hop. Everything's really happening in Toronto, unless you're, you know, able to book something and pack a place out yourself. But still, there's not a lot of venues to do hip hop. So the scene isn't huge, but there's a lot of talent in Mississauga.
Right on. Can you guys mention an artist or two who people should be up on, who they might not be up on? I like to just try to, share love on the show. Just anybody who you want to shout out that's an artist that people might want to listen to.
I mean, the rappers, man. The rappers. I've been talking to a few of them lately with all these freestyle stuff that are coming out. Guys like Sazy, guys like Tona, guys like Adam Bomb, guys like Roshan, Quake Matthews. There's a guy coming up named Spenny who's super dope.
That's a new name to me. I recognize and play everybody else you mentioned there, but yeah,
Spenny, get on Spenny. He's dope, man. Dope. He has a different kind of vibe. He's a skater. Dope face, fast money face. Costa.
Yeah,
true. There's a lot of John Q.
Yeah, all the homies.
So I'll go back and make sure I'm following all these guys.
Yeah.
There's so much talent out there, right? Like I've been doing this show 4 years, and I keep finding new artists, keep finding new pockets and stuff. So that's why I like to ask that question, just so that I can tap in further. I already asked about. Well, is there any shows coming up specifically that we can plug? Like, you got anything right around the corner? Okay.
But look in the new year. For the new year, probably January, February. We'll both probably be doing something.
For sure.
You'll see both of us.
What's the best way for people to support you guys?
Right now, I'm gonna
go on the Spotify, and soon we'll have a band camp. You can support us there.
No, hold on. Stop. You have a band camp already.
I was gonna say I've been on your band camp, man.
Go to the band camp, buy the albums if you like the albums.
Yes, we do have.
We're not gonna be dropping projects on streaming just like that anymore. Like when I drop this solo project coming up, when we drop the new Run&Gun, these shits are gonna go to Bandcamp. There's gonna be different media, maybe vinyl, cassettes, whatever, maybe even fucking CDs. Who knows? But the music's getting sold. We have clothing lines. Like I got my Mayor Society shit. So if you need sweaters, track suits, like that's how you support us. If you pay for the things that we sell. You
selling the merch through Bandcamp as well, or
the merch isn't on Bandcamp right now. For the merch, just hit me on the Instagram at Mayor Society or at J.O.Mairs. But yeah, just hit me up for the merch.
All right, Joe. That answers everything I needed to ask. I appreciate you guys taking time to do this. Shouts outs for coming through. This has been fun.
Most def. Thanks for having
us, man.
Hell yeah. Appreciate y'all.
Easy.
All right, bro. Take it easy.
All right, everybody. So that was Run&Gun. Dope little interview we got to do there. That'll be a wrap for this entire second season of Fly in Formation. If people don't know, of course, you can always find the archives for After the Smoke is Clear, my mix show where I play independent hip hop every week, over at mixcloud.com/dubious. Dubious.com is the hub for everything that I do. And appreciate y'all for coming through. I am taking the rest of December off from doing interviews. I think this was interview 49. It was unfortunate that I didn't get to do one this year, and it would have been 50, but whatever. It's all good. I'm coming back in January. I'm already booked for every Tuesday in January, every Tuesday in February, talking to some exciting artists. I'll post the schedule through December, but stay tuned for that. Peace.